Hello friends, this is Kuntal. Today I will discuss about PLSQL. First of all, I want to say what is PLSQL is all about. PLSQL is the procedural extension to SQL with design features of programming languages. Data manipulation and query statements of SQL are included within procedural units of code. By this statement, what it means? It is like we all know SQL. SQL is structured query language which we run to fetch the data from the database. Now, these SQL statements can be run on the database server through some connection object, but if we want to do some algorithmic sort of execution, it will not be possible, or if we want to do some kind of programming on top of the SQL data, then it is also not possible by doing only through SQL. So we need one programming extension with the SQL. So that is why PLSQL is in picture. Now let me explain. PLSQL is a block level programming language. That means the code is written in different blocks, and inside the block we can write normal SQL statements, and from normal SQL statements we can retrieve the data and we can store into different variables. So in this diagram you can see that PLSQL block, and this PLSQL block consists of SQL and also PLSQL extensions. This is the procedural statement executor. Now let me explain the benefits of PLSQL. Excuse me. The benefits of PLSQL is like, this is suppose Oracle server, and this server is being used from the application, and there is some shared library. So if I want to do some kind of data level programming, then after fetching some data, if it is done at the application side, means in case of Java, if it is done through the Java programming language and data being fetched through database connectivity, then there will be many requests sent to the server, and from the server the data will be fetched to the application side, and then the application side all this programming is done. Then there will be many requests, and also it will become slow, whereas if the whole programming component is present in database server, then it can be executed at the database end, and the resultant data or status can be sent to the application. So in simple terms, we can think of PLSQL as a programming extension of SQL which are run on the Oracle database server. So what is the benefit of PLSQL? As I explained before, it improves the performance. In the first picture, it is mentioned like there is one application and there is one database. Now, by some database management system, we are running several SQL queries and fetching the data, but it will make the performance bad. But instead of that, if we call some PLSQL component which is present in the Oracle server, and if we give some inputs to that programming extension, then all the data related operation along with the programming sort of manipulation and condition check and so many things, if it completely done in Oracle, and then the resultant thing is returned to the application or the status, then the performance will be much better. Another benefit of PLSQL is that it is a modularized program development. In PLSQL, as I have told, we write the code in blocks. So first block is the declare block, where we can declare some variable, and then begin block. Inside this begin block, we write the main component. Like we can write one select query, and we can store the result of that select query into some variable, and then there is one exception block. If any exception happens in the begin block, then exception is thrown, and that exception can be caught inside the exception block, and then this end. So this is one modularized approach or block level approach. So benefits of PLSQL: PLSQL is portable. You can declare variables. You can program with procedural language control structures. PLSQL can handle errors. And what are the benefits of subprograms? This means in PLSQL, inside one block, means as I have told, declare, begin, exception and end. This is one block. So this block can be written in another blocks, begin and after begin and before exception. So multiple begin and exception and end blocks can be written. So let me explain it how. So the first thing is declare, and the next thing is begin, and then exception, and then end. As I have told, this is one block, and this block can be written again inside one inside the begin and exception. So the multiple blocks can be written like this. And what are the benefits of subprograms? Easy maintenance, improved data security and integrity, improved performance, improved code clarity. Now invoking stored procedures and functions. In PLSQL, we have stored procedures and functions. So how we can invoke stored procedure and function, that I will explain you in later sections. So as a summary, I can say that PLSQL is an extension to SQL. Blocks of PLSQL codes are passed to and processed by a PLSQL engine. Benefits of PLSQL is integration, improved performance, portability, modularity of program development. Subprograms are named PLSQL blocks, declared as either procedures or functions. You can invoke subprograms from different environments. Now, I will go one by one. First, I will explain how declaring variables work in PLSQL. So once you complete, you will be able to do the following: recognize the basic PLSQL block and its section, describe the significance of variables in PLSQL, declare PLSQL variables, execute a PLSQL block. So this is the basic structure of a PLSQL block. So first is declare, which is optional. So if you need to declare any variable, you can do the declaration inside the declare section of this block. What we can declare? We can declare variables, we can declare cursors, we can declare user defined exceptions, and thereafter you have to write begin, which is mandatory. So any block must have begin. Declare can be there, declare cannot be there or may not be there, but begin has to be there. Inside the begin, you have to write SQL statements, and you can write PLSQL statements, and then the exception block. This exception block is optional. So whenever some exception occurs in the begin block, it is thrown from the begin block and it comes in the exception block. Now if that exception happens, if you want to do something, if you want to handle the exception, so that can be written inside this exception block. So here is the actions to perform when error occurs, and thereafter the end block. So end block is ended with a semicolon. So inside the block level, as I can see, the declare is optional, begin is mandatory, exception is optional, and end is mandatory. So this is how a block is structured in PLSQL. Now let me explain one sample code. So here declare, and after that v underscore variable. This is one variable name. Now after that we have written var character to 5. That means this v underscore variable is of type character, means it can store any character. So varchar is representing variable character. And now here is 5. So what is this 5? That means the size of the variable is 5. Now inside the begin we have written, suppose there is a table name, and from that table name we want to select one column. So select this column name from table name, and now if I want to assign this value of this column to this variable, so I will write select column name into variable. So into will do the assignment of that value of that column into that variable. And now exception. So suppose during execution of this statement in the begin some exception happens. For example, very common, like no data found happens. Suppose there is no data available in the table, so one no data found exception will be thrown. Now if we have to catch that exception, then we can write in the exception when that exception name. In our case, if it is no data found, we can write when no data found, then what we want to do, we want to suppose assign some value in the v underscore variable, we can write like that. So this is one sample PLSQL block. Now how many types of block are there? First block is anonymous block, means the blocks which does not have any name assigned with it. It mainly starts with declare, and then the variables you want to declare. So declare is optional. You can declare. If you want, you can omit this declare. If you don't have to declare any variable name, you can leave this declare block blank. And then the begin, which is mandatory for any block to form, and then you can write statements. Then exception is optional. If you want to handle some exception in the begin, you can write exception and can catch it, or you can leave it. And then the end is also mandatory. So you can see this particular block does not have any name, so this is called anonymous block. Another thing is procedure. So what is procedure? Procedure is a PLSQL component where I can write procedure and the name of the procedure, and then is name. With this procedure I can assign one block. So here after is, you no need to write declare separately. It is understandable, and it is not required to declare block. But after this is and below this begin, this is acting like a declare block. Here you can write any declaration of the variables, and then after begin you can write all the statements which you want to be present inside that procedure, and then the exception block, which is optional as I have told earlier, and then the end. So this is a procedure because we have written procedure and this name. So name is the name of the procedure. So if we compile this block, then this particular piece of code can be referred with the name what we have provided, and this is a procedure. And next is another component is there in PLSQL, which is function. Function and then the name of the function, and then you have to write the return data type, means what the function will return. It can be variable character, it can be number, it can be any other cursor or something. So this is function and then name, and then this return and this return data type, and then is. So after this is and before begin, this is the declaration section where you can declare anything, and thereafter the statements which you have to execute, and then the return value, and then exception block as usual, and then the end statement. So what is the difference between the procedure and function? I'll explain later, but here I can see that procedure does not have any return statement. Function has a explicit return statement, and there are some other things like if we want to return some procedure, so there is a different way. I will explain later, but this is a very simple thing which you should understand first so that we can go into the depth. So how a program is constructed? So program is constructed using declare, begin, exception and end. So this is one sample block. And tools constructs anonymous block, application procedure or function, application packages, application triggers and object types. So if you have tools to develop PLSQL components, you can develop your anonymous blocks, you can develop your application procedures or functions, you can develop application packages. And now what is this package? I will explain later in detail, but you can think like package is a collection of procedure or functions, and then you can write triggers. I will explain in details all these things, but this is just for your information. Trigger is something which can be executed on certain event, like insert, update, delete. So if you want to do something before insert, update, delete, or after insert, update, delete, so whenever that operation performs, if you want to execute certain code to be executed, that you can write by triggers. And there are other object types also. Whereas database server constructs anonymous blocks, stored procedures or functions, stored packages, database triggers and object types. So at the tool side you can develop application, procedure or function, and the database server side the stored procedure and function, packages, database triggers or object type. I will explain in details. So first let us concentrate on use of variables. Variables can be used for temporary storage of data. Like suppose there is one SQL statement. So that SQL statement is fired and some data is returned. So now if you want to store the data into some variable, so then variable comes into play. And now after storing the variable, if you want to manipulate something on the values, then also variables can be used. And you can use that value for some another operations in the subsequent lines. So there is reusability, and then the maintenance will be easier, so ease of maintenance. So variable can be used for temporary storage of data, manipulation of stored values, reusability and ease of maintenance. Now how to handle the variables in PLSQL? Declare and initialize variables in the declaration section. Assign a new value to variables in the executable sections. Pass the value into PLSQL blocks through parameters. View results through output variables. So as I can explain, like if you want to declare and initialize variables, so that can be done in the declaration section. Now if you want to assign new value to a variable, that you can do in the executable section, means after the begin. Now if you want to pass some value into PLSQL blocks like procedure or function, then you can take help from parameters. And then if you want to return that value or output the value of the some variables, that also can be done. So now we have to understand how many types of variables is present in PLSQL. In PLSQL, we have scalar variable, we have composite variable, we have reference variable, and we have LOB, means large object. Non-PLSQL variables are bind and host variables. So now if I concentrate like type of variables, I will focus on some sample variable. Like in this section, the syntax is like first you have to write the identifier, means the name of the variable, and then you can write the data type, and then you can write if it is not null, and then with colon equals to you can assign any variable value to that variable. For example, I will give you 4 sample. First, so it is after the declare you will write the variable declaration like v underscore higher date. So this is the name of the variable. Now after space you have written date. So v underscore higher date is a variable of type date. Now v underscore date number 2. So this is a number type of variable and the size is 2, and then additionally we are writing not null, means this variable will not accept any variable which is of null. So this is not null. And then after the declaration, if I want to assign some initial value, we can assign with colon equals to. So this colon equals to is called the assignment operator is 10. So v underscore depth number is assigned with an initial value of 10. And thereafter v underscore location, this is another variable of var character to 13, means it can accept any character, and var character 2 represents variable character, and this 13 is the size of that character, and colon equals to Atlanta. This is on default assignment of value into v location. So if I do like this, from the beginning v underscore location variable will have one value Atlanta. And another type of variable is like c underscore com, where I have written constant number. So v underscore department number is number. That means it can accept any number. But when c underscore com is constant number, that means its value cannot be changed. It is similar to final in Java. So constant number colon equals to 1400. That means c underscore com is a variable of type number which is constant, and it has been initialized with a number 1400. So these are some examples. So now what are the guidelines for declaring PLSQL variables? Follow naming conventions, initialize variables designated as not null and constant. So if you want to declare some variable which cannot accept any null value, you can write not null, and then constant if its value cannot be changed, you can write as constant, and declare one identifier per line, means in one line only one identifier can be declared. That means if I have 10 variables, then I have to use 10 lines. In one line, it cannot be declared. Initialize identifier by using the assignment operator. As I have told, colon and equals to is an assignment operator. So if I want to give some default value, or if I want to assign some value to the variable, this colon equals to will be used. This is called assignment operator, or the default reserved word. So here identifier colon equals to expression. Now there is coming one naming rule. Two variables can have the same name provided they are in different blocks. Now here is like in the declare I have employee ID. So this employee ID is actually in a block, available in the block. So if I have written employee ID and then begin and end, so inside this begin and end, at every point of place this employee ID will be accessible. Now if I have to write another variable with the same name, I have to write it in a different block, not in the same block. I cannot use the same name. And next point, the variable name should not be the same as the name of the table columns used in the block. In this statement, suppose there is one column employee underscore ID inside the table employees, then I cannot use the same column name to store the value of employee ID column. So this will result in one error. So the column name cannot be used as the variable name. So you have to use some different name in this case. Variable initialization and keywords. Assignment operator is colon equals to default keyword is for some default value, not null constant, so that it cannot accept any any null value. So here is one sample, v underscore hire date colon equals to 01 Jan 2001, so it will assign that value. Then v underscore rename equals to some value. Now as I have told, the data type can accept many things. So first is scalar data type. Scalar data type means it can hold a single value, means the variable or the identifier can store only one value. So this is how it is. So what are the basic scalar data type? Character, that means it can take one character value, so some length you can mention, and then the var character 2, which is one modified version of character in Oracle. It can accept any character with the maximum length specified, and then long, it can accept one long value, and then long raw number, precision and scale. So precision and the scale is after the decimal places, so number can store any number value, then binary integer can store any integer value, and then PLS integer and boolean can store one boolean value like true or false. So at the end, this is a base scalar data type, and because only one value can be stored into that variable of the identifier. So another example of base scalar data type is date, timestamp, timestamp with time zone, timestamp with local time zone, interval year to month, interval day to second. So here are some scalar variable declarations like declare. So as I have told, all the variables to be declared after the declare block and before the begin block. V underscore job var character to 9, means v underscore job can accept any variable character of size 9. V underscore count can accept any binary integer, and also one initialization has been done by this colon equals to that assignment operator equals to 0. V underscore total underscore cell is of type number 9 comma 2, means total length will be 9, and after decimal places it can accept 2, and colon equals to 0. And then V order date is a date type variable, and one value has been assigned sys date plus 7. And then C tax rate is a constant number, means its value cannot be changed. And 3 precision 2 equals, and colon equals to, means some value has been assigned initially 8.25. then V underscore valid is a boolean variable of type not null, and true, so true is assigned. So this is one scalar variable, example of scalar. Now another thing is, if we don't want to use integer character like that, suppose there is one table, so the table has one column, so if I want to store that value of that column into some variable, and if I don't want to explicitly mention the type of that column, instead of that, by percentage type we can declare that variable. So for example, here suppose there is one column p underscore uh, uh, one column last underscore name. So if I want to store the value of the last underscore name column into some variable, so let's say I have created one variable name with the identifier p underscore name, and what would be its type? If I want to mention the type of last name like var character 2, then that also will work. But instead of that, if we want to make it based on the type of that column, so I have written employees dot last underscore name percentage type, means whatever the type of the column last name of employees table, v name will follow that. So you don't have to mention explicitly any type. Suppose v underscore balance is number 7 comma 2, here we are mentioning that its value can store any number of side 7, and precision after decimal place would be 2. But suppose if it stores some value of some table, we can write like that table dot that column name percentage type, so that we don't have to mention is explicitly. Also like v mean balance, if I want to make v mean balance type is same as v underscore balance, we can write v underscore balance percentage type. So whatever the type of v underscore balance, that will be followed for v underscore mean underscore balance. And then again I have as I have explained like before, that colon equals to is for assignment, that is 10. And also I have explained how we can write the boolean variables. Only the value true and false and null can be assigned to boolean variable. The variables are compared by logical operators and, or, and not. So boolean variable can be compared with and, or not. The variable always yield true, false, or not, or null. That means the variables result with true, false, or null. And arithmetic, character, and date expressions can be used to return a boolean value. We will explain in the hands-on section later on how this can be used. So here after composite data type. So today's session I will just concentrate, or I have concentrated till the scalar data type, and the composite data type I will cover in the next video. So for this video I have declared the basic things, like how to declare the variables and the PLSQL block structures, what are the different types of blocks like anonymous, procedure, function, and then I have declared how PLSQL components can be useful, and I have explained the data types, and I have explained in detail the scalar data type. So in the next video I will explain the composite data type, and subsequently we will do hands-on how we can improve or we can develop different PLSQL code components. So till then, bye. If you have liked this video, then please subscribe and also click on the bell notification so that you will get the notification immediately after I publish this video. Till then, bye bye. Thank you for watching this video. Bye.